Hey guys, it's Lady Vamtress here with another lesson. This is lesson 5, clipping mask. Clipping masks are really easy to work with, so this lesson shouldn't be too difficult. First things first, I'm going to show you how to do a clipping mask to font. And if you're not quite sure how to add different fonts to Photoshop, I'll go ahead and take a minute and explain that to you. You want to go to a font site. A good one that I can think of off the top of my head is dafont.com, and that's DAFONT.com. They have a really nice selection of fonts, and they're free. Let's see if we can... Well, technically I don't really need to look for a font. I have fonts. But say you want this font right here. All you would do, you would look for a font anywhere. They have tons and tons and tons of fonts. You just go through the categories and you look and see if you can find something that you like. Okay, and say, for example, you like this one, which to use for clipping masks, it's always good to have a font that has a little bit to it, like maybe this font here would be good, or this one would be really good, or even that one. But let's just pretend like you like this font, okay? You go over here to download, click on it, save it wherever you save it. Mine automatically saves to my desktop. It'll download it. Once it's done, you can get out of there. And it's right here. You just unzip it if it needs to be unzipped. And then this is your font. So you want to right click on it, and go down here to copy, and then go into your computer, your start menu, computer, your local disk C, down here to Windows, and then down here to Fonts. And then you just paste it in there. Right click and paste. But I'm not going to because I don't want to install it. That is how you install fonts. You can install any font into there, and when you do this, close out Photoshop. I know I have it open, but I'm not really going to add any fonts, but close Photoshop out completely, add your font, and then open Photoshop up, and it should be in your font, in your text area. Like I have tons and tons and tons of fonts that I've added. So, and your font area may not be there. I think in another lesson I explained about workspace and stuff, and how you get it. You just go to your different windows and have it come up. Anyways, so we're going to open up a new document. We're going to make it about 300 by 300. And I always do transparent backgrounds. It's just easier for me, but you guys don't have to. You can do a white background, or you can do a background color, which would feed off of this color here. So if I did that, it would be black. But I always do transparent and then fill it in later. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to fill it in with black, just so you can see what I'm doing in this next step. So we're going to make a new layer, set our color to white, which is a little arrow changes your colors, set it to white, watch your text tool, and type in something. I'm going to type in something random like text. Well, the font that I have is a little too broad for that. Let's see if I can get it. I don't really like that font. Let's see if we can find a different font that I think I would like more. Impact's always a nice, simple font. I think Impact is a default font, I do believe. Okay. So, I gotta set it 150 in size. I'm gonna make it bold just because it's nice and round when it's bold. Okay, anyways. I already have an image that I'm going to use, and all I did was Google images, beach, searched, and this came up. So that's all you really have to do is just Google what you want. Again, I Googled beach, and this image came up. So you're going to drag this over here, and there's several different ways to actually do the clipping mask. How I do it, and this is the easiest for me, is I just hold down my Alt key beside my space bar and hover in between the image layer and the text layer. Okay, always make sure you highlight this top layer when you do these though, the image layer. Okay, so I just hold down Alt and hover in between them, and you see how it changes the cursor into that little two circles and an arrow. Okay, when it changes to that, hold down Alt. When it changes to that, click, and it clips them together. As you can see, you can move this around a little bit. If you don't want to do it that way, it's not easy for you to do it that way, you can also right-click this top layer, go to Create Clipping Mask, and it'll clip them. Or you can go over here to Layer, go down to Create Clipping Mask, or finally, and if you paid attention when you were in here, it tells you Alt plus Control plus G. So if this is highlighted and you hit Alt Control plus G, it'll automatically clip it together. Now, it don't matter which way you clip them, they all get you to the same place. They all do the same thing. Why Photoshop has these shortcuts and long cuts and easy different tricks and stuff to do different things, I'll never know, but it does, and that is the 4 ways that I know. Is that 4 ways or 3 ways? Yeah, that is the 4 ways that I know that you can use the clipping mask. Alright, so once you clip your image, again, you can move it around to how you like it. And then now, since it's text, you can add some. I mean, you can do this to other things, but honestly, this next step doesn't really look good with anything else other than text. Text alone. Like if you do text in a tag or in a large piece or something, and then you add a clipping mask to it, it's never good to really add these effects to the text that way. If it's like we're doing now, text all by itself, and you just wanted to clip an image to it and make the text stand out, then by all means, do the following settings to make that text really pop out. Otherwise, I'd totally ignore this part and do not apply this to shapes or text in a tag or any of that. The reason I had you add the black background is so that we could see the text when we were doing it. Now you really don't need it, so you can just hide it with that little eyeball layer. Okay, so you want to double click the text layer. And let's add a drop shadow. Usually I leave it set to multiply. I drop this to 60. Usually leave it at a 120-degree angle. I usually change this to about a 2 or a 3. And since this is just text, we'll do a 3. And then I usually change this, well, honestly, this is just text. Let me see if I can maybe up it a little bit. Actually, it's fine the way it is. It actually looks pretty good. The way it is. Set default. Just drop it down to 60. So it's not so strong. You can do some bevel and emboss. Inner bevel, smooth. Just drop this down to like about 30. 3 to 5 here for the size. Doesn't really matter. Drop this down to about 50 and this down to about 30. Sometimes I add contour. Contour sometimes looks good. There's that. Some people like to add a stroke. You could always do a 1 pixel black stroke. If I add a drop shadow, I normally don't add a stroke. But if I add a stroke, or if I add the drop shadow, then I won't add the stroke. I don't really like strokes and drop shadows together. They kind of contrast each other in my eyes. So I think the text looks nice without that. And you could always go in behind it and add a white layer just to see what that looks like on white. So there it is with effects, and there it is without effects. Do you see how that makes it pop out a little more? It's flat and plain, and here it pops out and slaps you in the face. And there you can see it with the stripe back there. Okay, so that's how you do text. Now, let's try something a little more. Again, you can add this to text in a tag, and it makes it blend. And I don't know if I've got any. Let me see if I can find some tags. Give me a minute. Can't really remember what tags I added. There's one. Alright, like for this one, as you can see, the text is blended pretty well in this one, and this one is one that I used text. I used clipping mask for the text. First I typed out the text how I wanted it. Defend would be the main text. And I did some Japanese letters up here, and then I put my name, Lady Vantress, underneath, real small, all in white. And then I just add clipping mask, part of the tag itself. And how you do that is, let me hide this text layer and I'll start over here real quick. I'm not going to try to get the same font. This is just a quick illustration of how you do this. Okay, so you type out what you want to type out. Make it look good. I mean, like I did the first time. Don't follow my example currently. Pick out a nice font. Then all you do is you hide that font. Okay, and then you make a new layer above it. You go to Image, Apply Image, and hit OK. And then there's your image that you're going to clip to the text. Before we did the beach scenery, and this time we're going to do the tag itself to get the text to match and blend in. So unhide your text, and however you clip, like for me, hold Alt and hover in between them and click. Now it's clipped. Now all that's left is moving it. And I usually enlarge it a little bit so that when I move it, it moves it at a better pace. But do you see it starting to come forward? You can see the text. And it's blended. Now again, you can double click on the text and you can add a little bit. For this, I'm not going to add a lot, just a slight little bit to make it stand out just a tad more. And you can always lower the opacity of the text to make it blend in a little better if the effects are too strong. Move it around. So I moved this around a little bit so you get a better effect on it. But I think right there looks the best. The lighting from this kind of hits here, but not over here. That's how you get text to blend in a tutorial or blend into a tag when you're doing a tag. Clipping masks for shapes are relatively the same way. You just make the shape and then you hide the shape and then you make a new layer above that shape layer, hidden shape layer, and then you go up to image, apply image, and then you unhide the shape layer and then you clip them together and move the image layer around. Same way with brushing. Some people use splatter brushes and then clip. For this one, that's exactly what I did. Except I did my brushing in black because the tag had a lot of white in it. And I'm not sure if it really matters if you do the brushing of the shapes of the text in white or not. But this tag has a lot of white in it. And I couldn't really see the brushes, the splatter brushes, too well when I splattered them over this because the background was so light. So I used black. And you can load brushes the same way that you loaded your text, except it's not in the same place. You would find a brush, like from DeviantArt, you would download it, you would copy it, and then you would go to your computer, and instead of going into Windows like you did for font, you're going to go into your program files, Adobe, and then Photoshop. I got CS3, so whatever version you have. And then you're going to go to presets. In here you'll find, your actions, your brushes, your color swatches, and patterns, and styles, and textures. Okay, so you want to go to brushes, and then you just right-click and paste in there. Again, Photoshop has to be closed out before you can add something else. If it's open and you add a new brush, it's not going to show up. I'm not too sure about the font, but I know brushes definitely don't show up until you open Photoshop again. So close it out, add your brush, open it back up, and then pick a nice splatter brush. I have tons of splatter brushes. You pick them as you hit your brush tool, go up here, hit this little circle and arrow, and then just look for, like smudges and splatters and abstract and bubbles, and I got tons of brushes. But pick a good smudge brush set. I don't really know any of these that are good, but pick a good set. And then just splatter some in there. I can't remember what brush set I used in here. If they're too big, you can resize them. Yeah, I did them in black, so. Anyways, so just brush your splatter. And once you do that, then hide it, create a new layer, clip it, and move it around. And that, of course, looks like that would be this area right here that I moved it to. Splatter some more, clip it, splatter some more, clip it, splatter, clip, splatter, clip, splatter, and clip. And there's, it added some texture to my tag. Now I also added some text and did a clipping mask to it as well, and then just added some white text below that. But that's pretty much how you do clipping masks for shapes or splatter brushes. Again, the shapes, you would just make a shape. Your shapes are right here. You do custom shapes. You can make a heart, arrows, bunnies, whatever it is that you want to make, that they have up here for default shape, moons and starbursts and such. Or you can make your own shapes. Grabbing this and making lines or whatever, and then you just clip them together and move them around. But whenever you do this, whenever you brush your splatter brush or your brush onto the canvas, or whenever you type your text, or whenever you make your shape, always hide that layer. If you're doing a tag or LP or something, hide that layer so that when you make an applied image above that of your tag, you're not going to have that text, shape, or brush in there with it. You're just going to have basically the blank canvas before you add this stuff. And that's it. That's how you do clipping masks. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, but other than that, that's it.